My husband seeks divorce and my 7-year-old daughter then asks the judge, "May I reveal something is unknowing of your honor?" The judge concurred. When the footage began, the entire courtroom went silent, frozen. Can you imagine the day your entire world shatters? My husband, the man I swore to spend my life with, dragged me into court, demanding a divorce, calling me a failed mother, failed wife. He wanted everything, our home, our money, even our little girl. I felt utterly destroyed. But then right there in the sterile silence of the courtroom, a small, brave voice cut through the air. It was my 7-year-old daughter, Zaria, asking the judge, "Your Honor, can I show you something my mommy doesn't know?" My heart stopped. What on earth was she going to say? What twist could possibly come next? That morning everything felt normal. Or as normal as things got in our house anymore. Nala was already up, moving like a ghost in my own kitchen since dawn. The smell of fresh coffee and a hot breakfast mingled with the gentle hum of the washing machine. I had perfected the art of silent efficiency, you know? All to avoid disturbing him, my husband, Tmain. At 6 a.m. sharp, Tmain would descend the stairs, looking absolutely impeccable. I'd have his hot black coffee and steaming breakfast ready on the table the moment he appeared. He'd sit, take the mug, usually without even a glance my way. "Coffee's a little bitter today," he'd say, his eyes glued to his phone screen. Just like that. And I, like an idiot, would always mumble, "I'm sorry, honey. I thought I measured it right." He wouldn't respond. He'd just push his plate away, eat a few bites, and sit in a silence so thick and cold it could freeze the steam off the coffee. I couldn't remember the last time we'd laughed over breakfast. It felt like years since Tmain started working late, since his business trips stretched longer and longer. "Is Zaria up?" he'd ask, still not looking at me. "Honey. She's showering. She'll be down soon," I'd reply, my voice barely a whisper. And sure enough, a moment later, Zaria would burst into the room, a whirlwind of joy in her neat private school uniform. "Good morning, Mommy and Daddy," she'd chirp, kissing my cheek before heading straight for Tmain. He'd finally put down his phone, forcing a small smile. "Good morning, Princess. Finish your food. Daddy will take you to school." Zaria would light up. "Wow, I'm going with Daddy." I'd exhale a silent sigh of relief. At least for Zaria, he'd put on a show of warmth. This brief breakfast was the only family time we had. The moment Zaria finished, Tmain was up, briefcase in hand, a quick kiss on Zaria's forehead and then out the door. He'd walk right past me always. No goodbye, no kiss, not even a flicker of acknowledgement. Just the roar of his luxury car disappearing, leaving me utterly alone in that vast, empty house. I spent the rest of the morning doing what I always did, cleaning, washing, tidying. Kept the house perfect. I truly believed that if I was clean enough, if the food was delicious enough, if I was quiet enough, maybe, just maybe, the old Tmain would come back. But he was long gone. My favorite part of the day was picking Zaria up from school. I loved listening to her chatter about her friends, her art class, her lunchbox. "Mommy, I got 5 gold stars today," she'd squeal, clutching my hand. "Wow, my smart girl." I'd pinch her nose, genuinely happy. When we got home, as I helped Zaria take off her shoes, I heard it, the rumble of a motorcycle, then a courier shouting my name. "Nala, package for you." I frowned. I hadn't ordered anything. I walked to the door, took the large, thick brown envelope. No sender name, just a law firm logo. My heart started to pound. "Who is it, Mommy?" Zaria asked. "I don't know, Princess. Probably just junk mail. Go change and we'll have lunch," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. After Zaria ran off, I sat on the sofa. My hands trembled as I ripped open the envelope. Inside, a thick stack of papers. The first sentence hit me like a physical blow. "Petition for dissolution of marriage." My world stopped. My ears rang. I reread it, praying my eyes had deceived me. Plaintiff, Tmain. Defendant, Nala. Reason for the suit. The wife has totally failed in the fulfillment of her marital duties. Failed? I felt sick. I had given my entire life to that house, to him, to Zaria. I'd given up my career at his request, taken care of everything, made sure his shirts were spotless. What did he mean, failed? I kept reading. The demands, they were cruel. Not only was he asking for a divorce, but full custody of Zaria, claiming I was emotionally unstable and incapable. And the most devastating blow? He wanted all our marital assets, including the house, arguing I hadn't contributed financially. I collapsed onto the cold hardwood floor, the papers scattered around me. So that's why he'd been so cold. This wasn't sudden. This was a secret, calculated plan. The front door opened. Tmain home unusually early. He stood there looking at me crumpled on the floor, then at the scattered papers. His expression was utterly cold, devoid of any guilt. Honey, what does this mean? I choked out, tears already blurring my vision. He took off his shoes, slowly loosened his tie. He didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He just said, his voice flat, "It's exactly what you read, Nala. I don't want to live with you anymore. You have failed. As a wife, as a mother. Failed? I've taken care of this house. I've raised Zaria." I moaned in disbelief. He scoffed, his face twisting with disdain. "Taking care of the house. All you've done is spend my money. Zaria needs a better mother. A competent one. Not someone who just cries and complains like you. But all the property, this house, and Zaria, you can't take them from me." I started to scream hysterically. He crouched down, his eyes filled with a hatred I'd never seen before. "I can and I will. My lawyer has all the evidence. You won't get anything, Nala. You'll leave this house without a single dollar." He stood up, smoothing his suit, glanced towards the stairs to make sure Zaria couldn't hear. "And get ready," he grinned, a chilling, blood-freezing smile. "My lawyer says even your own daughter will testify in court about how incompetent you are." I froze. My heart shattered. He didn't just want a divorce, he wanted to destroy me. I didn't sleep that night. Tmain had locked himself in the guest room. I spent hours in Zaria's room, watching her peaceful face, my tears falling silently. How could he say Zaria would testify against me? She was my world. What lies had he told her? That thought tormented me more than any accusation. The next morning, Tmain acted as if nothing had happened. He woke Zaria, dressed her, took her to school. He didn't speak a word to me. When Zaria asked why my eyes were puffy, he said, "Mommy isn't feeling very well, princess." After they left, true terror took hold. I had to fight. I couldn't give up Zaria. I looked for divorce lawyers. But the harsh reality hit me hard. Lawyers cost money. A retainer, a consultation fee. I had no money. 4 years, Tmain had only given me a monthly allowance, just enough for groceries and Zaria's school. Nothing left to save. My only hope was our joint account, our family emergency fund. With trembling hands, I opened the banking app. My heart hammered. When the balance appeared, $0. It couldn't be. There should be hundreds of thousands in there. I refreshed. The number stared back, mocking me. I checked the transaction history. My eyes widened in horror. Over the last 6 months, Tmain had systematically drained it, transferring money to an account I didn't recognize. The last withdrawal? 3 days ago, emptying the rest. He had planned this. He hadn't just left, he had deliberately crippled me financially so I couldn't fight back. I cried in despair. How could I hire a lawyer without a single dollar? I remembered my wedding jewelry. I ran to my room, flung open my jewelry box. Only a few imitation trinkets remained. He'd taken even my heirlooms. In my desperation, I remembered an old friend who worked at a legal aid agency. I called her, sobbing out the whole story. She felt pity, but all she could do was give me a name. "Attorney Abernathy," she said. "Small office, 2nd floor of an old strip mall. Not expensive, but he's honest and dedicated. Go see him. Maybe he can help." I had no other choice. With the last bit of cash in my purse, I hailed a cab. Attorney Abernathy's office was exactly as she described. Small, modest, peeling paint. He was a middle-aged black man with thick glasses and a calm demeanor. He listened patiently, taking notes, never interrupting. When I finished, he sighed. "Nala, this is going to be an uphill battle. Your husband has prepared this very thoroughly. He doesn't just want a divorce. He wants to destroy you." "I know, attorney," I pleaded. "But I don't care about the properties. I just want Zaria. Please help me. I don't have money now, but I'll pay you. In installments. Anything." He looked at me for a long moment. "Let's leave the money for later, Nala. We have to move fast. This lawsuit has already been filed. We need to prepare a response immediately." He left the room and returned with a folder of photocopies, Tmain's lawsuit documents. Your husband's lawyer is Attorney Cromwell. Doesn't hesitate to use dirty tactics. My heart pounded. Let's see what evidence they've presented. He opened the folder. The first page, photographs. My stomach dropped. Photos of our living room messy with toys. Dirty dishes piled in the kitchen. Clothes overflowing the laundry basket. But this is unfair. I protested. These are photos he took when I was sick. I had a high fever for 3 days and Tmain wouldn't help at all. He took them on purpose. Attorney Abernathy looked grim. I'm afraid this is manipulated, Nala. To make you look like a lazy homemaker. Next, credit card statements. Charges for luxury handbags, jewelry, expensive dinners. Things I'd never bought. That's not me. I didn't buy these. Was it an additional card in your name? He asked. Yes. Tmain managed it. He told me to use it if I needed to, but he took it often, saying his main card exceeded the limit. Oh my God. He set me up. The world spun. Every small kindness from Tmain now felt like a calculated part of his evil plan. Then a thick document at the end. This is the most damaging thing, Nala. What is it? He handed me the report. The testimony of an expert witness, a child psychologist. Cold clinical terms. It claimed the psychologist had conducted covert observations of me and Zaria. Conclusion: I was emotionally unstable, neglected Zaria's needs, and was detrimental to her psychological development. Recommended full custody for Tmain. This makes no sense. When was this observation done? I never met a psychologist. My voice shook violently. According to this report, observations were done in public places. The park, the mall, picking Zaria up from school. Attorney Abernathy explained, staring at me intently. That's crazy. Zaria always seemed happy with me. This is defamation. Who is this psychologist? He flipped the cover. Her name is Dr. Valencia. Here are all her credentials. She seems very professional, very convincing. He looked at me serious. Nala, do you know this woman? I shook my head, bewildered, tears falling again. No, attorney. I don't know her. Never seen her in my life. Living under the same roof with the man who planned to destroy me became a silent hell. Tmain hadn't left, he'd just moved into the guest room. Our once warm home now felt like a frozen battlefield, emotional landmines hidden everywhere. I had to live with my enemy, see him every morning, pretend everything was normal for Zaria. Tmain played his role perfectly in front of Zaria. He was the best father in the world. He came home earlier than usual, something he hadn't done in months. He brought expensive gifts. One night, a big box with a cartoon princess. This is your new tablet, Zaria, he exclaimed, hugging her. Much better than the old one, better camera, and Daddy installed lots of games. Zaria's eyes shone. Wow, thanks, Daddy. I, folding laundry in the living room, could only swallow hard. My heart ached. I knew what he was doing, buying her loyalty. I couldn't compete. I didn't have $1 to buy her anything. You see, princess, Tmain said, sneering at me as he turned on the new tablet. When you live with Daddy later, you'll get a new toy every week. Unlike someone who only knows how to fold clothes. My hands froze. A knot in my chest. I wanted to scream, to insult him. But I couldn't, not in front of Zaria. Getting angry would only prove his accusation that I was emotionally unstable. So I just kept folding clothes, head bowed, letting his poison fill the room. The terror continued daily. Tmain systematically undermined my authority. If I cooked dinner, he'd taste it in front of Zaria and say, "Honey, the soup is a little salty again. It's okay. Tomorrow we'll order takeout." If I tried to help Zaria with homework, he'd interrupt. "Let me do it. Mommy's way is too complicated. You'll get confused." I felt smaller and smaller, more invisible in my own home. I began to doubt myself. Did I cook badly? Was I really incapable of teaching my daughter? Tmain played his role too well, making me seem inept. Zaria, caught in the middle, started showing signs of confusion. She clearly loved me, but she also basked in her father's attention and gifts. Sometimes she clung to me, seeking protection. Other times she seemed uncomfortable, especially after Tmain whispered something to her. One night I couldn't sleep. I walked to Zaria's room to check on her. She was sleeping deeply. On her desk was the new tablet Tmain had bought. But as I tucked her in, I saw something strange. Her small hand clutched something under her pillow. Not her favorite teddy bear. My heart skipped a beat. It was Zaria's old tablet. The cheap one, screen cracked in several places. The one I always told her not to play with, fearing the glass might hurt her. Why did she still keep this broken tablet? Why hide it when the new one was on her desk? I didn't understand. I thought it was just a child's attachment to an old toy. I didn't know that broken tablet held a secret that would change everything. The climax happened a few days later. I was waiting for Zaria to come home from school, promising her favorite chocolate cake. An hour after dismissal she wasn't home. I called the school. They told me Tmain had picked her up. My heart sank. He hadn't told me anything. I called him repeatedly, no answer. 2 hours. 3 hours. I was almost crazy with worry, pacing, tears streaming. It wasn't until 9 p.m. that I heard his car. Zaria bounced in, laughing, carrying a huge bag from an amusement park. Behind her, Tmain walked calmly, a smirk on his face. Where have you been, honey? Why did you take Zaria without telling me? I was dying of worry. I screamed, my voice choked with tears and rage. Daddy took me to Wonderland Park, Mommy. It was so much fun. Zaria chirped happily. Tmain looked at me coldly. So what? I'm her father. I have the right. Besides, you're not doing anything at home. But you should have told me. So you could ruin our fun with your drama? Then I smelled it. A woman's perfume. Soft, unfamiliar. It permeated Tmain's shirt. Not mine. Not his usual cologne. Honey, you. Tmain followed my gaze. He knew I'd smelled it. He didn't flinch. Dad, he smiled. He waited for Zaria to run to her room. Alone he approached me. His face close, his voice a low, venomous hiss. Did you notice? Did you really think I was going to live forever with a woman as boring as you? You are nothing compared to her. I gasped, stepping back. There was another woman. All of this, all the accusations were just an attempt to get rid of me, to be with her. Who is she? I whispered. None of your business. She's successful, intelligent. She knows how to please a man unlike you. That night, Zaria came to my room. Mommy, why are you crying? I wiped my tears instantly. I'm okay, princess. My head just hurts a little. Zaria looked at me, her gaze hard to decipher. Are you really sick, Mommy? Daddy says that since you're sick, you're often sad and angry. Daddy said if I go live with him later, Mommy will be able to rest and get better. My heart shattered. He had been injecting poison into my daughter's mind. He had manipulated her into believing leaving me was an act of kindness because I was sick. I hugged Zaria tight. Zaria, listen to me. I'm not sick. I just love you so much. I promise I won't get angry anymore. But the damage was done. I saw hesitation in her eyes. Tmain, listening from the doorway, sneered in the darkness. He walked past me, feigning sympathy, giving my shoulder a little tap. Enjoy your time, he mocked in my ear. Soon she won't even want to call you Mom. The mediation hearing was a cruel joke. Attorney Abernathy began calmly. Nala doesn't ask for much. She only wants custody of Zaria, or at least shared custody. Regarding property we can talk. But Tmain's lawyer, Attorney Cromwell, well-dressed and expensive, cut him off. There is nothing to talk about, he said harshly, slamming his file on the table. Our client's position is clear. Nala is the failed party. It has been proven she failed to maintain the home and raise the child. Our client demands full custody for Zaria's future. Tmain sat beside him, blank-faced, as if he were the victim. I only want the best for my daughter, he said with fake sadness. Taking her mother away is the best for her. I trembled. Attorney Cromwell chuckled. Nala, if you keep insisting, we will take this to trial. And I assure you all the evidence we have will humiliate you. The photos, the credit card statements, the expert testimony. You'd better sign this agreement. Our client is being benevolent by allowing you to leave the house without any countersuit. Leave my house with nothing and without Zaria? Are you crazy? I screamed. The mediator tried to intervene, but Tmain and his lawyer were inflexible. The mediation completely broke down. Attorney Abernathy patted my shoulder as we left. Stay strong, Nala. The real fight begins now. The first day of trial. A knot in my stomach. The courtroom was cold, intimidating. Tmain sat opposite, confident, with Attorney Cromwell. The trial began. Attorney Cromwell was first, speaking fluently, his voice loud and sure. He presented his facts. The messy house photos accusing me of being a lazy housewife. The credit card statements accusing me of being wasteful and irresponsible. Your Honor, he said dramatically, while my client Tmain worked hard to earn money, his wife was at home wasting it and neglecting her daughter and home. I wanted to scream to expose his lies, how he set me up, but Attorney Abernathy stopped me with a reassuring look. When it was Attorney Abernathy's turn, he tried to refute. He explained the photos were out of context, that Tmain used the credit cards himself. But his argument sounded weak. It was my word against the physical evidence. The judge took notes, his expression unreadable. Then came the moment I feared most. The plaintiff calls his expert witness, Attorney Cromwell announced. Dr. Valencia, child psychologist. The door opened. A woman entered. I held my breath. Beautiful, elegant, hair pulled back, professional blazer. She didn't look evil. She looked convincing. As she took her oath, I smelled it again. That same perfume, the one on Tmain's shirt that night. My heart stopped. It was her. Tmain's mistress. Posing as a child psychologist. Valencia sat in the witness box, speaking calmly, her diction clear, using impressive psychological terms. Yes, Your Honor, she began, answering Cromwell's questions. I conducted observations of Mrs. Nala and her daughter Zaria over the last 3 months. And what were your findings, Doctor? Cromwell asked. She opened her notes. My findings were very concerning. I found a pattern of behavior in Mrs. Nala that tends to be inconsistent and emotionally volatile. There are signs of significant emotional distress. Valencia began detailing lie after lie, twisting facts into deadly weapons. First observation. At a shopping mall, Mrs. Nala pulled Zaria forcefully, speaking loudly, making Zaria cry in fear. This shows a low capacity for emotional regulation. I closed my eyes. I remembered that day. Zaria had almost run onto the wrong escalator. I'd shouted, pulled her back in shock. Zaria, be careful. I wasn't angry, I was terrified she'd get hurt. But Valencia had turned it into verbal abuse. Second observation. In a park, Mrs. Nala seemed absorbed in her phone, ignoring Zaria playing alone. When Zaria fell, Mrs. Nala didn't notice immediately. When she did, her reaction was exaggerated, tending toward hysteria, which further traumatized Zaria. Another lie. I remembered texting about a grocery list Tmain had demanded. Zaria tripped. I ran, genuinely scared, hugged her. My reaction was that of a concerned mother, not a hysterical one. My conclusion, Valencia said, staring at the judge with a steady voice, is that Mrs. Nala does not have the stable emotional capacity to raise a 7-year-old girl. There are strong signs of parentification syndrome, where Mrs. Nala subconsciously projects her own unhappiness and emotional problems onto the child. For Zaria's mental health, I strongly recommend full custody for the father, Mr. Tmain, who is the more stable figure. The room fell silent. Her testimony was powerful, scientific, destructive. I cried silently. It's a lie, I whispered to Attorney Abernathy. It's all a lie. She is Tmain's mistress. Calm down, Nala, he replied tensely. Don't react. That's what they want. Attorney Abernathy stood for cross-examination. He tried. Dr. Valencia, are you sure you can make such a serious diagnosis based solely on distance observations? She smiled slightly. On the contrary, counselor, natural observations without the subject's awareness are the most accurate. No manipulation. Pure, real behavior. You were paid by Mr. Tmain for this testimony, isn't that right? I was paid for my professional services, counselor, not for my conclusions. My conclusions are objective and based on data from the field. He was clever. She dodged every question. Covered all the holes. Attorney Abernathy was at a dead end. The trial adjourned. I left, my legs shaking, feeling destroyed. I saw Tmain smiling, nodding at Valencia with satisfaction. In the lobby, I leaned against the wall and sobbed. We lost, attorney. We lost. They have everything. Abernathy was silent for a moment. Then he stared at Tmain and Valencia walking together in the distance, discreetly separated but not far apart. Not yet, Nala, he said, eyes narrowed. I know something is wrong. The way she looks at him when she thinks no one sees her. That's not how a professional psychologist looks at a client. We have to find out who she really is. A few days before the next hearing, Attorney Abernathy called me to his office. He looked tired. The stack of papers on his desk was thicker than before. Nala, I tried to trace her background. He was blunt. The result is different from what we expected. My heart raced. What do you mean? Her credentials are clean. Too clean, Nala. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. She's registered. She has a clinic. All the documentation is perfect. Either she's a real psychologist Tmain hired to lie for money, or he forged this entire identity very cleanly. The truth is, we cannot attack her by accusing her of being fake. The court would dismiss our claim immediately. The brief hope I'd held vanished. So we can't prove she's lying? No, we simply can't prove she isn't a psychologist. The only way is to refute her testimony. And that means you have to testify, Nala. He looked at me seriously. You have to tell your whole side of the story. About the photos, the credit cards, Tmain's behavior. And most importantly, you must not get emotionally upset. Attorney Cromwell will definitely try to provoke you. He will want you to look hysterical in front of the judge, exactly as Valencia described you. I nodded silently. I will do it, attorney. I will try. The day arrived. It was my turn on the witness stand. After being sworn in, Attorney Abernathy started with gentle questions, guiding me to tell my life as a housewife. I explained, trying to keep my voice as calm as possible, how I left my job for Zaria. My routine from dawn to night. About the photos of the messy house, Nala, can you explain the context? He asked. Yes, attorney. Those photos were taken by Tmain about 2 months ago. I was severely ill with a high fever for 3 days. I could barely get out of bed. I asked Tmain to take care of the household, but he said he was too busy. So the house got messy. I didn't have the energy to clean. And about the credit card statements. It was an additional card in my name, but Tmain used it more frequently. He said his main card often reached the limit with business matters. I believed him. I never bought those luxury bags or jewelry. I didn't know about those charges until I saw them in the lawsuit documents. I said everything with honesty. Some in the gallery whispered, some looked with sympathy, but the judge remained silent, his face unreadable. Then came Attorney Cromwell. The cunning lawyer stood, smoothed his tie and walked toward me with a sneer. Nala, he began in a sickly sweet tone. So you mean to say your husband, Mr. Tmain, who works hard and brings money home, set you up on purpose? Is that it? I stammered. I didn't say that. I just said what happened. But that sounds like... The husband takes photos of the dirty house. The husband uses the credit card. Everything is the husband's fault. It seems you are not to blame for anything. Are you perfect? Of course not. I'm not perfect, but I'm not a failure. Not a failure? Cromwell scoffed. Nala, you said you were sick when those photos were taken. Do you have any medical report proving you were gravely ill for 3 days? I remained silent. I didn't go to the hospital. I just took medicine from the pharmacy. I thought I would recover. So there is no proof. Cromwell attacked quickly. It's just your word against real photographic evidence. Interesting. He moved to the credit cards. You say your husband used them, but the card is in your name. Did you ever inform the bank it was being misused? No. Did you ever reprimand your husband? No. You said nothing. Doesn't this prove you are negligent and financially irresponsible? Or does it mean you approved all the purchases? I trusted him. He was my husband. My voice rose. Blind trust, snapped Cromwell. A trust that ruined the family finances. And now you blame your husband. I am not blaming. He raised his hand, returned to his table and picked up a large printed photo. He held it up for the judge and everyone to see. Your Honor, I request permission to present Exhibit P12. My eyes widened in horror. It was a photo of me in my bedroom a few weeks before the divorce papers arrived. Hair disheveled, crying, screaming. Mrs. Nala, can you explain this photo? Cromwell asked, triumphant. I trembled violently. Tears welled up again. Isn't this real proof of what Dr. Valencia said? Volatile emotions? Hysteria? Is this the face of a competent mother? You don't understand. I wailed, tears now pouring down my face. That night, Tmain had just come home. He called me a useless wife. He said I was a burden. He insulted me. He said I didn't deserve to be Zaria's mother. He provoked me. So you admit it? Cromwell attacked, giving me no breath. You admit you screamed hysterically. You admit you lost control. You are emotionally volatile. Exactly as Dr. Valencia described, right? No. I shouted. I stood up from my chair. He set me up. He took the photo of me in secret after hurting me. He is a devil. Enough. The judge's gavel struck hard. Witness, calm down. Sit down. I sobbed, my shoulders shaking, collapsing back into my chair. Destroyed. Everything destroyed. I had behaved exactly as Tmain and Cromwell wanted. Hysterical. Unstable. The image of the failed mother they had fabricated. I looked at Tmain. He had his head bowed, a fake grimace of sadness as if hurt by my instability. Cromwell smiled smugly. The judge slowly shook his head. His expression was clear. He had already taken a side. That day's trial ended with total destruction for my side. Attorney Abernathy tried to console me, but I felt numb. It's over, attorney, I whispered weakly. That night was the longest of my life. The sentencing hearing was the next day. I knew I was going to lose. I was going to lose Zaria. I went into Zaria's room. She was asleep. Tmain wasn't home, probably celebrating his victory with Valencia. I sat at the foot of her bed, stroking her hair, my tears falling silently onto her cheek. She stirred a little. Mommy. Zaria opened her eyes. Half asleep. Shoo, go back to sleep, princess, I whispered, my voice raw from crying. I hugged her tight, maybe for the last time as a full mother. I want you to know, whatever happens tomorrow, Mommy loves you very much. Always. Sensing my sadness, Zaria hugged me back. I love you too, Mommy. I slowly undid the hug. That's when I saw it again. The corner of the old, cracked tablet sticking out from under Zaria's pillow. She clutched it tightly even in her sleep. I couldn't understand her obsession with that broken thing. But that night I was too destroyed to think deeper. I simply kissed her forehead and left to face the end of my world. The courtroom was colder than usual. The air heavy, suffocating. I sat rigidly, eyes puffy and empty. I hadn't slept. Beside me, Attorney Abernathy stared ahead, somber. He knew he'd done everything possible, but we faced a giant wall. On the opposite side, Tmain looked fresh, confident in a new suit, occasionally smiling, joking quietly with Cromwell. Victory was in his eyes. In the gallery I saw Valencia. Elegantly dressed, a cream-colored dress, looking at me with a barely visible smile. The smile of the victor. The judge entered. Silence. In the matter of the divorce petition registry number. Today's subject is the reading of the verdict, but before that, he said formally, I request both parties present their closing arguments. Attorney Cromwell stood first, summarizing his victory skillfully. Your Honor, during this trial we have seen irrefutable evidence. The photographic proof showing Mrs. Nala's neglect, the financial proof showing her irresponsibility, and most importantly, the testimony of the eminent child psychologist, Dr. Valencia, who objectively and scientifically presented the defendant's emotional instability. He pointed at me. We even witnessed Mrs. Nala's hysterical conduct in this courtroom, which supports Dr. Valencia's diagnosis and is clearly recorded. He turned to Tmain. On the other hand, we have Mr. Tmain, a capable father, financially successful and above all, emotionally stable and genuinely concerned for his daughter's future. Your Honor, the choice here is very clear. It is not about punishing the wife but about saving the child. For Zaria's best interest, I beg you to grant full custody to our client, Mr. Tmain, and approve his request for division of assets. Cromwell sat down, a smug smile on his face. Now it was Attorney Abernathy's turn. He stood slowly looking around the room. Your Honor, he began, soft but firm. What we have witnessed here is not proof. It is character assassination, a very well-planned defamation. Photos can lie. One can take a photo of the best chef's kitchen in the world at the wrong moment and make it look dirty. Statements can be manipulated, especially when one party has total financial control and the trust of the other. And the expert testimony, the testimony of an expert who only observed from a distance and drew radical conclusions from a few fragments of incidents out of context, is that stronger than the deep maternal love a mother has accumulated over 7 years. Abernathy looked directly at Tmain. Your Honor, we are not saving a girl. We are witnessing a greedy husband try to get rid of his wife, steal her assets, and cruelly take away the only thing most precious to her, her daughter. Nala is a good mother. His voice trembled slightly with emotion. She is not perfect. No mother is. But she has dedicated her life to Zaria. Do not allow this well-woven defamation to destroy that bond. I beg you to judge with conscience. Abernathy sat down. The room was silent. His argument was excellent, emotional, but I knew it wasn't enough. His argument was based on belief. Cromwell's was based on physical evidence and expert testimony. In the eyes of the law, the winner was obvious. The judge cleared his throat, put on his glasses, and opened a thick file. This was it. Having reviewed all documents from both parties, heard all testimonies, and considered all evidence presented, he began, his tone expressionless. My heart shrank. The court notes that the plaintiff, Mr. Tmain, has been successful in presenting significant evidence. He continued. I lowered my head, closing my eyes. First, the visual evidence, that is, the photographs, demonstrated the negligence of the defendant, Mrs. Nala, in household management. Second, the financial evidence demonstrated a considerable spending imbalance on the credit card in the defendant's name. Every sentence was a knife cut. And most damaging, the judge said, his voice definitive, is the testimony of the expert witness, Dr. Valencia, regarding Mrs. Nala's emotional state. This testimony was unfortunately reinforced by the defendant's own conduct in the last trial, providing the court with a very troubling image of the psychological environment for the child's growth. I began to cry silently. It was over. Tmain looked at me, a slight, cruel smile of victory appearing at the corner of his mouth. Valencia behind him sat straighter, ready to applaud. With all considerations mentioned above, and especially for the best interest and mental health of the minor's area, the judge raised his gavel and I closed my eyes, ready to hear the sentence that would destroy my life. The court rules. Stop. The voice was small, but it cut through the silence. Everyone turned their heads in unison. In the slightly open back door stood Zaria. Alone. Still in her school uniform. She had snuck in. Tmain's face went from arrogance to shock and pure terror. Zaria, what are you doing here? Get out of here, he shouted, panicked. Guard. Zaria. Sit down, princess, he tried again, his voice tense. But Zaria didn't move. She walked into the courtroom, her small steps echoing on the marble floor. She didn't look at me, my mouth agape in disbelief. She didn't look at her furious father. She looked directly at the judge. The room, frozen in anticipation, was now utterly silent. The gavel, about to fall, hung in midair. The judge's eyes widened, looking at the little girl. Zaria, I whispered in disbelief, my heart falling out of my chest. What was she doing here? Who brought her? Tmain's reaction was the fastest. His face, moments before full of triumph, was now pale, bloodless. Pure terror in his eyes. Zaria, he yelled, his voice rising, stripped of all calm. What are you doing here? Get out of here. This isn't a playground. Guard. How can a child enter? Zaria shrank at his scream, but she didn't back down. Instead, she walked deeper into the room. Zaria, Daddy said, turn around and sit down. Tmain shouted again, half standing. His lawyer, Attorney Cromwell, also bewildered, stood up and yelled, Your Honor, this is a procedural outrage. This trial is confidential. A minor should not be here and should not interrupt the proceeding. Order your staff to remove the child. I was still frozen. Confused. A part of me was shattering over the fact that Zaria was in this horrible place. The other part trembled with fear. What was Zaria going to say? Had Tmain succeeded in poisoning her completely? Would she tell the judge she preferred her father? The thought made me nauseous. Your Honor, out of consideration, Attorney Abernathy's voice rang out suddenly, stopping Cromwell. This child has come with an obvious purpose. This is about her future. We cannot ignore her. The judge raised his hand. His face was grave. Silence, everyone. His voice echoed. He stared at Tmain and Cromwell, silencing their protests. Then his gaze turned to Zaria. His expression softened. Zaria approached slowly, her small steps echoing loudly. She stopped in the center, between the lawyers' tables, looking directly at the judge. Your Honor, she said, her voice trembling but clear to the whole room, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's okay, princess, the judge said, his tone more paternal. Why are you here? Who brought you? I came alone. My auntie brought me, but I snuck in. I heard my daddy say, my mommy is bad. Tmane's eyes went wide. Zaria, watch your words. Silence, Mr. Tmane, shouted the judge. Let the child speak. I covered my mouth, tears beginning to flow. Zaria swallowed as if gathering courage. She looked at the judge again, her pure, clear eyes showing sincerity. Daddy said my mommy is bad. Daddy said my mommy gets very angry. Daddy said my mommy can't take care of me. She continued, her voice shaking slightly. I closed my eyes. This was the end. Zaria was going to repeat all of Tmane's lies. But then a sentence made me open my eyes. But can I show you something? Zaria looked at the judge, pleading. Something my mommy doesn't know? That phrase hung in the air. Something my mommy doesn't know. I frowned. What did she mean? Attorney Cromwell jumped up again. Your Honor, this is absurd. A recording from a child cannot be used as evidence. This is an invasion of privacy recorded without permission. That recording proves the lies of your expert witness, Attorney Cromwell. Abernathy retorted sharply. This is very intriguing. Enough arguing. The judge banged his gavel. His eyes, previously paternal, now shone intensely. He sensed there was a big lie. Clerk, help this child. Connect that device to the court monitors right now. No. Tmane screamed desperately. He gripped the table, knuckles white. I object, Your Honor. This is a setup. Your objection is noted, Mr. Tmane. Now sit down, ordered the judge. A clerk approached Zaria, carefully took the cracked tablet, found a cable. Moments later, the large monitor screens on the courtroom wall went black, then showed Zaria's tablet home screen. Tmane covered his face. Valencia behind him seemed to shake violently. Zaria, standing next to the clerk, pointed to a video file. This one, she said. The clerk clicked. A video thumbnail appeared. Go ahead, princess, said the judge. Play the video. Zaria stretched out her small index finger. He pressed the play button. The video started. The screen flickered. The shot was slightly shaky and tilted. The angle was low, as if recorded from behind something. A quiet laugh was heard. It's our living room, I whispered, recognizing the sofa and the large plant pot. The video seemed to have been taken from behind that pot, where Zaria often hid while playing hide-and-seek. And then two figures entered the shot, Tmane and Valencia. Not Valencia in her professional blazer, but Valencia in fine, comfortable loungewear. Her hair was down. Tmane entered, laughing, and immediately hugged Valencia from behind, kissing her on the neck. Oh my God! A muffled exclamation was heard throughout the room. I froze, breath caught in my throat. So the perfume, my suspicions, everything was true. The woman who gave false testimony to ruin me was the same one sleeping with my husband in my house. Across the room, Attorney Cromwell stared at the monitor, mouth open. He turned to Tmane with horror, as if saying, You never told me this. In the gallery, Valencia lowered her head, trying to hide her face. Then the voices, clearly heard in the silence. Valencia's voice. Are you sure your plan will work? Your wife is so stupid. Tmane's voice, laughing. Stupid and submissive. She won't suspect anything. All the money has already been transferred to your account, baby. My legs failed me. My money. Our joint account. Transferred to Valencia's account. Oh God, Attorney Abernathy murmured beside me, his eyes glued to the screen. The video continued. Tmane sat on the sofa, pulled Valencia onto his lap. Tmane's voice. Once the verdict comes out tomorrow, I will officially get custody of Zaria. We will sell this house from hell immediately and move to Switzerland, far away from her. Valencia's voice. But Zaria seems very attached to her mother. This was the part that hurt me most. I held my breath, waiting for his answer. Tmane's voice, disdainful. Oh, the kid is easy to handle. Just give her a new tablet and she'll forget her mother. You will be her new mother. A smarter, more successful and much sexier mother. He kissed Valencia passionately. Enough. Turn it off. Tmane screamed in rage, jumping from his chair, trying to run towards the clerk's table. Officers, restrain him, shouted the judge, angry. Two security guards moved immediately, overpowering Tmane, bending his arms behind his back. He twisted like an animal. Let me go. It's not true. It's manipulated, he screamed desperately. Silence him, ordered the judge. Continue the video. I want to see it to the end. The video continued, oblivious to the chaos. Now it was Valencia's turn. Valencia's voice. I'm still a little worried. What about my testimony as a psychologist? What if Nala's lawyer refutes it with his observations? Tmane's voice laughing again. I already prepared. I recorded her last week when she cried hysterically. Remember? I will provoke her again at the trial. I will insult her until she explodes. She will scream and cry in front of the judge. I sobbed. My testimony. The photo. My screams. He set me up. Tmane's voice. Once she gets hysterical, your testimony will seem perfect. The judge will see for himself that she is an unstable, crazy woman. No one will believe her. They will believe Dr. Valencia, the professional. The video finally showed Tmane and Valencia toasting with wine glasses, laughing. Then it ended. The screen went black. The room remained silent for a few seconds. Only my sobs and Tmane's panting breath under the guard's control were heard. Everyone, the judge, the clerks, the gallery, even Attorney Cromwell, stared at the black screen in horror. They had just witnessed a very well-planned evil conspiracy. Fraud. Perjury. Money laundering. Manipulation of the court. In the gallery, some began turning their heads looking for Valencia. There she is. It's the woman, someone shouted. Valencia realized she was completely exposed. In a panic, she jumped from her seat and ran toward the back exit. Zaria, the little heroine who had been watching the video, turned her head. She didn't look at Tmane, who was subdued. She looked at me. Her pure eyes met mine, which were filled with tears. The judge, face red with rage, raised his gavel high. He didn't drop it in silence. He banged it hard on the desk. Silence, everyone. The court resumes. Officers, close all exits. No one leaves. Arrest that woman, Dr. Valencia. Immediately the room fell into controlled chaos. The bang of the furious judge's gavel was both an order and a release of the tension. The two guards dragged Tmane to a chair. He wasn't screaming anymore. Just gasping, his eyes frantic, his expensive suit soaked in sweat. He knew it was over. At the back door, another commotion. Valencia, unable to open the large door, pulled and pushed in vain. A female officer intercepted her. Valencia collapsed. Her professional mask had fallen. She was no longer the calm, convincing psychologist. She was just a scared woman crying hysterically, exactly the image she had used to frame me. Karma had arrived, too fast and with cruelty. Bring her here, ordered the judge, his voice cold and unforgiving. They dragged the sobbing Valencia to the front, sat her in the witness stand, which now felt like the defendant's bench. Across the room, Tmane's lawyer, Attorney Cromwell, looked like a melting wax doll. Pale face, crooked tie. He no longer looked at the judge. He stared at the stack of papers in front of him, speechless. His career, his reputation, destroyed in an instant by a video from a child's broken tablet. He knew he was implicated. He might not have known about the affair, but he knew about the manipulated photo evidence and the prepared testimony to frame me. I was still sitting, trembling. Attorney Abernathy gave my back a gentle pat, but his eyes were fixed on the judge, ready for the final blow. Zaria stood silently next to the clerk, the center of calm in the storm. She only watched me as if making sure I was okay. The judge took a deep breath and smoothed his robe. He looked at Tmane, at Valencia, then at Attorney Cromwell. Mr. Tmane, the judge began, his voice quiet but terrifying. That video is the property of your daughter and was recorded in your own home. Do you still want to insist that it is manipulated? Tmane raised his head, his face empty. She set me up, he muttered. It was a last, pathetic attempt. That woman Valencia planned everything. She seduced me. Hearing this, Valencia screamed. Liar. You told me to do it. You told me you would marry me. You told me you would transfer all the money to my account. I did all this for you. Silence. The judge banged his gavel again. Both are the same. Your confessions have already been recorded in the court record. The judge turned to Valencia. Miss Valencia, you sat on this stand under oath and gave false testimony. You used your professional credentials to destroy a mother's life and aid in a crime. You not only violated your code of ethics, but you committed perjury before this court. The judge looked at Attorney Cromwell. And Attorney Cromwell, did you know or should you have suspected that the evidence you presented, including this testimony, was false? You tried to provoke the witness in the last trial to fit your client's false narrative. You have disgraced this profession. I will have the Ethics Committee revoke your law license. Cromwell bowed his head, unable to speak. Finally, the judge looked at Tmain. His gaze was so piercing it seemed to flay the man alive. Mr. Tmain, you entered this courtroom demanding justice. You accused your wife of failure, accused her of instability, demanded her assets, and most heinous of all, demanded to separate a child from her mother. The judge lifted Tmain's lawsuit file, holding it up. Let's review your lawsuit first. The accusation that the wife failed and neglected the home. Proven false. The video just demonstrated that you conspired to defame her. He threw a sheet from the file to the floor. Second, the accusation that the wife was financially irresponsible and wasteful. Proven false. The video is a confession that you stole money from your joint account and transferred it to your mistress's account. This isn't just defamation. It is theft. He threw the second sheet. Third, the accusation that the wife was emotionally unstable, backed by false expert testimony, proven as a blatant scheme. The video proves you conspired to provoke your wife, record her in secret, and use it to deceive this court. He threw the third sheet. Your entire lawsuit, the judge's voice rose, is a pile of garbage based on lies, greed, and adultery. The court dismisses entirely the divorce petition presented by Mr. Tmain. The gavel struck hard, but the judge wasn't finished. He looked at Attorney Abernathy and me. The court will not stop here. Based on this new irrefutable evidence, the court rules to protect the victim. 1. The judge raised a finger. Full custody of the minor Zaria is granted unconditionally to her biological mother, Mrs. Nalla. I gasped. Tears now of relief flowed freely. I looked at Zaria. 2. The judge continued. Mr. Tmain's divorce suit has been dismissed. However, the court suggests that Mrs. Nalla file a countersuit right now. Mrs. Nalla, do you wish to divorce your husband? Attorney Abernathy whispered beside me. With a trembling but firm voice, I looked directly at Tmain, who was defeated, his head bowed. Yes, Your Honor. I demand a divorce right now. Good, exclaimed the judge. The court grants the divorce to Mrs. Nalla on the grounds of adultery and fraud by the husband. Full custody to Mrs. Nalla. 3. The judge stood up. Now, all assets in the name of Mr. Tmain and Miss Valencia will be frozen immediately. The court orders a full investigation to trace all funds stolen from Mrs. Nalla. The house currently occupied is declared total property of Mrs. Nalla and Zaria. And 4. The judge's voice resonated throughout the room. Based on the video evidence and the confessions in this room, I order the immediate arrest of Mr. Tmain and Miss Valencia for multiple criminal offenses, including conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, domestic theft, and tampering with evidence in a court of law. Take them away. The security guards immediately handcuffed Tmain. The man who had entered that morning with such arrogance was now led out, head bowed. He walked past me, not daring to look me in the eye. Valencia was also handcuffed, her screams drying up, leaving only a puffy, messy face. She was dragged away. Her career, her freedom, gone. I was still sitting, trembling. Attorney Abernathy smiled from ear to ear. We won, Nalla. We won. I couldn't speak. I simply stood up and walked slowly toward the center of the room. Zaria ran toward me. I knelt and hugged her tightly as if hugging my savior. I cried on her small shoulders, not tears of sadness, but tears of a mother saved by her little heroine. The aftermath spread like wildfire. The story of the broken tablet made headlines everywhere. The greedy husband, the fake psychologist, the 7-year-old heroine. It dominated local news for weeks. The first few weeks were a blur for me and Zaria. Attorney Abernathy took care of everything. By order of the judge, all of Tmain and Valencia's assets were frozen. The investigation proved Tmain had transferred nearly $1 million to Valencia's account. All the money was seized and returned to my new account. The big cold house was now officially mine. But I couldn't stay there. Too many bad memories. Too many shadows of Tmain and Valencia in every corner. With Abernathy's consent, I sold the house. The proceeds were more than enough to start a new life. The punishment for the villains was swift and severe. Given the overwhelming evidence, Tmain was sentenced to 12 years for fraud, theft, and perjury. Valencia, whose psychologist credentials turned out to be real but criminally used, was sentenced to 8 years, her license permanently revoked. And attorney Cromwell? He was immediately disbarred and faced criminal charges for his participation. Karma had been paid in full. 3 months after that judgment day, the laughter of children echoed in a small green park. I, with the weight of worry gone from my face, smiled as I watched Zaria on the swing. We hadn't moved into a big house but a modest, cozy 3-bedroom apartment. It was full of photos of us and it smelled of the cookies I'd baked. I'd started a small catering business from home. My culinary skills, which Tmain always belittled, were now praised by many. Orders were coming in. I was busy, tired, but incredibly happy. I was independent. Mommy, look. Zaria ran toward me, her hands dirty with soil. The flowers are going to bloom soon. I smiled, stroking her short hair. Wow, my daughter is very good at planting things. We sat side by side, enjoying the afternoon sun. There was a question I hadn't had the chance to ask calmly. Princess, I began softly. Can I ask you something? What, Mommy? Zaria looked at me with clear eyes. The video on the old tablet. Why? Why did you record it? Zaria was silent for a moment, remembering. Because I didn't like Auntie Valencia. Why didn't you like her? Auntie Valencia pretended to be nice. Smiled at Mommy and talked to you at the mall. But when Mommy went to the bathroom, she told Daddy, your wife takes too long. And in the park too. She saw me, but she told Daddy that Mommy wasn't watching me. But Mommy was watching me. I was amazed. My little daughter was a sharp observer. And that night, Zaria continued, Daddy said he was working late, but I heard his car come back. I wanted to show Daddy my new drawing. But when I went down, I saw Daddy come in with Auntie Valencia. Daddy hugged her right away. I got scared, so I hid behind the flower pot. So I recorded there. Yes, I used the old tablet to record. I remembered Mommy said that if there are bad people, there must be proof, and I had the old tablet with me. My heart warmed. I had forgotten I had said that. But Princess, I asked again. This was the most important question. Why didn't you tell Mommy? Why did you keep it a secret? Zaria interrupted in a low voice. Daddy said Mommy shouldn't know. I frowned. Daddy told you that? Yes. In the video, Daddy told Auntie Valencia. My wife is stupid. She won't know. Zaria thought it was a big secret because Daddy said Mommy shouldn't know, so I kept it. I didn't want Daddy to get mad if Mommy found out. It was the pure logic of a child. She had aggravated her father's crime, but she had kept it secret because her own father had told her her mother shouldn't know. So why did you show it in court? Because the judge was going to take Zaria away from Mommy. Daddy said Mommy was bad. And Auntie Valencia also said Mommy was bad. And that's not true. Zaria had tears in her eyes. I don't want to be separated from Mommy. Mommy isn't bad. Mommy is the best mom. So I had to show the judge that Daddy and Auntie Valencia are the bad ones. I couldn't hold back anymore. I hugged Zaria tightly, crying tears of joy. For all this time, I had suffered Tmain's accusations that I was a failed mother. I had doubted myself, felt destroyed. But before me was the strongest proof that I hadn't failed. I had raised an incredible daughter. A pure, sharp girl who could distinguish truth from falsehood. A brave girl with the courage to act alone to protect her mother. A girl with a pure sense of justice. Thank you, Princess, I whispered into her hair. Thank you for saving me. Zaria hugged me. I love you, Mommy. I love you too, Zaria. I undid the hug and looked at my daughter's bright face. Finally, I understood. I had never failed. I had just been raising a heroine. And now we were both free for a new beginning. What an incredible journey, right? I mean, who could have seen that coming? Have you ever had a moment where everything felt lost, only for an unexpected twist to turn things around? I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this story. Tell me what you think in the comments below.